We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Nicole Byer, helping you make those rooms flyer. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild! Like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Ooh, fierce! This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. It is VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here, downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. He's our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Whew, we got a lot to get to. Greg Peterson is going to join us in the next segment. How cool is that? That Greg's going to get up early with us here on a Thursday morning. We're going to talk about the Daily Diamond. Of course, it's Paul Skeens Day going up against those Cubbies. Mike Palm is going to be calling in for Palm's Pressing 3 in hour number 2. And then Kenny Rice is going to join us to break down the Kentucky Derby. We're getting so close, just 2 days away from the Derby coming up on Saturday. So a lot to get to here. But the big news, Jensen, you wake up and you go, oh my goodness, Lakers in 5. No. It's the T-Wolves in 5. It's all over in L.A. with the Lakers being eliminated, and that begins today's highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
If you're watching on VSiN.com, Temps de Vacation. I'm not good with my French.
Temps de vacances.
There you go. So whatever Jensen just said. Rudy Gobert, the Stifle Tower. They get it done 27-24 for Rudy. The big Frenchman getting it done there as the Lakers get eliminated. It's got to feel sweet for Gobert specifically, because if we all saw last year when Dallas eliminated Minnesota, it really became that viral moment where Luka is just cursing out Rudy Gobert, like, do you even have the unmitigated gall to try to guard me out here? And then you flip the script a year later, and there's Luka going on vacation with LeBron as the Lakers are done in 5. I don't think we're stunned necessarily by it, but I think maybe across the country, people are going, wow, the Lakers are really out, and they really got mollywopped in 5. What's your biggest takeaway from this now? 103-96 is the elimination score.
Yeah, first of all, happy May to those that celebrate. We know many people will here on the baseball side coming up. As Billy Body would say, some undue holiday for the LA Lakers. Going to go enjoy some of the sun and the beaches somewhere. Here's the big takeaway. We were right from the beginning. We said circle the Minnesota Timberwolves because that's going to be the team. They don't have the high seed, but they have the high ceiling, and that is what they showed in this round, really handling, I think, an undermanned Laker team, maybe not as consistent that JJ Redick would have liked between his starters, maybe some of the rotation guys. I mean, if you think about it, the Lakers ran out 8 guys, and the guys off the bench they had, Maxi Kleber, who, for the entire series wasn't available until last night. Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent. Blech. That's not winning you any series. That's not even getting you into a position to be in contention. Oof. So credit where it's due, where the T-Wolves did what they needed to, and we said it yesterday, have the urgency, right? Do not allow the Lakers to get off the mat. They certainly didn't. And a defensive effort, I think, by the Lakers in the second half gave them at least an opportunity to jump back in, but all's well that ends well. And Anthony Edwards is him, man. It wasn't his greatest, scoring game, but man alive, did he put his stamp on this series? And now the T-Wolves very dangerous moving into the next round.
Look, to the victor go the spoils. And this is what happens, right? When you win, you get to talk all that smack that you want to on social media. And the T-Wolves did a little bit of that. How about a little Hollywood? But there were 4 L's that they spelled in Hollywood for Wolves. If you're watching VSiN.com, to win 4-1. Look, I don't mind this stuff. This is sports, baby, right?
Yes.
You want to win. You want to talk all that. Talk that junk, and let them know. And the T-Wolves are doing just that. Look, you can say that how did they lose? How did the Lakers lose, right? Well, Bill Simmons might have had an opportunity to maybe beat his chest a little bit because Bill went on X and said this. I went to the game. One reason the Lakers couldn't get any rebounds was because nobody on the Lakers was actually trying to get rebounds. Usually, when you can't get rebounds, you move under the basket where the rebounds are, or you box people out and then try to get the rebounds. Like JJ Redick, maybe it was a rough couple finishing stretches for him with the media. I saw before they played the elimination game last night in Game 5, he got a little bit testy when asked again, do you rely on your assistant coaches? That ended the interview. He got up and walked out. So they were clearly on edge, a little bit chippy before they got to this elimination game. You and I talked about it 24 hours ago, and I thought, man, with a couple shots, I don't think the T-Wolves are going to come in here and lay down, put all their eggs in their basket for Game 6. This felt like a very dangerous game, playing with a little bit of that house money. And I got that feel when they were up 10 at halftime, Jensen. I was kind of waiting to wake up and see this big Laker comeback that never happened here. So all the questions obviously are going to go to the Lakers for next year. And we did this last year when they lost, right? Oh, they got to keep Austin Reeves, come these other guys. You get Luka. I don't know what the right answer is. That's for them to figure out. But I think for us going forward, we do have to pay more attention to Minnesota. And last night we talked about about 8-1 in the marketplace here to win the West. That's been shorted now with this win as they move on. OKC is still OKC. We've made a lot of mention of it. But do we look at them a little bit differently? Is this more about the Lakers' collapse or more about what we thought, hey, the T-Wolves, you can get them north of 20-1 before the playoffs began. Maybe that was the way to look for that long shot ticket.
I think you focus more on Minnesota and maybe to put a bow on the Lakers situation. You know what, David? If only they had a big man that could bang down. Yeesh. Here's what you're going to hear. Just a guess, with Damian Lillard likely done for the entirety of next season in Milwaukee, LA is going to do whatever they have to do to try and get Giannis. You can see it right now. That's what's going to happen. So we'll talk Lakers, later on in the year once the NBA championship has been handed out. For Minnesota, and we said this before, it's a dangerous club. They got a lot of different ways to beat you. Rudy Gobert had 24 rebounds himself. Okay, just to give you an idea where that was for Bill Simmons' quote, the Lakers had 37 total rebounds. 37. And Brandon Valesky giving us a little bit of a foreshadowing here into where the T-Wolves' potential chances could be. They did split this year with the Thunder. And so, again, we've kind of looked to the bottom of this bracket in the West here, Dave. What are maybe a team or two that could potentially give the Thunder a little bit of problems? And we still think that maybe the Clippers, if they find a way through, or the Nuggets, that they could give some resistance. But I think it's Minnesota right now that everyone should circle and say, this is an incredibly dangerous team. They can beat you from the perimeter. They got a guy that can create on his own, and Anthony Edwards. They have a post presence in a front court that can do some damage and match up. So, yeah, I think this is more about how Minnesota convincingly won this series and left no doubt that they are for real.
Plus 550 for Minnesota, second betting choice in the West to come out right now. Obviously, OKC has gone up, minus $1.85. T-Wolves are plus 550. Warriors are the third betting choice at plus 650. Now, remember this time yesterday I said the Rockets were 55-1 to come out of the West. They're down to 45-1 after their convincing win yesterday. You were all over the Rockets. They easily win 131-116 to force this series to go back to Golden State. But what was interesting here is that H-Town pulled their starters. So did Golden State when they were up. H-Town was up 31. Then all of a sudden, you're watching this game, and the backups for Golden State get this down to 13 with about 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And I keep looking over like, Kerr, you going to put your guys back in? Because we saw that's exactly what Houston did. They put their starters back in the game to make sure they got them. I mentioned how the T-Wolves didn't really play with their food and said, well, we can go finish them in L.A. Let's go do it. I wonder, were you surprised that Kerr did not go back to the starters at all? This isn't like a Knicks situation where you got to rest all your guys because they wear them out. I don't think we look at Steve Kerr the same way that we do Tibbs. But I was a little surprised that when they got it down with that much time left, they never went back to the starting rotation.
I don't think, because Steve's been around a while, knows his guys, and I think knows the situation, right? And I think he's gambling more so. It's like, okay, Houston, if you think you're for real. You come take it from us in our building when we got our guys ready to go. Just an idea for you to think about moving forward. Jimmy Butler played 25 minutes. Draymond played 18. Steph played 23. The entirety of the starters for the Rockets, everyone played at least 30 minutes. Jalen Green was 28. Brooks was 29. And so, hey, they had to get it across the line. They had to make sure that this series was prolonged. And I told you I thought they would get it done. But this may be more of, hey, Steve Kerr knows that why expend all this energy and then maybe get blitzkrieged a little bit at home in that first half and then be really playing some catch up with some pressure on you. So again, conspiracy theorists out there, but this was more about Houston defensively in the first half. I mean, absolutely limiting a group that kind of had their way of what they wanted to do, even with one player with Jimmy Butler out. The other part of it too, said it yesterday. I wasn't going to believe in Houston until they had a half court, performance. The way I mean, come on, man. I didn't know they were going to shoot 55%. They went 69% in the first half overall. Shot 43 from three. This was the most complete performance we've seen from Houston thus far.
76 points in the first half to really kind of put that out of reach again. The backups did get it down there, got a little testy. We had some pushing, some shoving. We had an ejection from a player I'd never heard of for Golden State. I mean, it was bizarre watching in the fourth quarter what was going on and who was on the floor actually for Golden State in quote-unquote crunch time. But, yeah, Steve Kerr does rest all his guys. If you had overs on a lot of these guys from Golden State, I feel for you because you can't predict that. You can't predict 76 from Houston in the first half, and then Kerr's just going to wave the flag, and he waved it early. I mean, really early. And then it was interesting because you saw Steph start to warm up a little bit. He took the ankle brace off, and you're like, oh, are they really going to try to flip this switch now and try to get those guys back in there with 6 minutes to make a late push? They did not. They will go back to Golden State for Game 6, but it's all over. Minnesota moves on, and the Lakers are done. When we come back, we're going to have Greg Peterson join us, break down Major League Baseball, what he likes today on the docket. That is next here on VSiN By The Books.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Thursday edition of Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here. And we love catching up with Hoops Peterson, Greg Peterson. Give him a follow on X at @GUnit_81. Joins us now on the Progressive Guest Line. Greg, I say, it's not like a test of my manhood or anything, but sometimes I physically just can't stay up all night and watch every game like I want to, like I used to. You stayed up and saw the whole second half of the Lakers and T-Wolves. Did you then go for a jog after the game was over?
Oh, yes. I got my jog in after I posted up both the Coast to Coast Hoops and the Baseball Betting Show podcast at midnight Pacific. We put on the nice suit, and now we're here with you guys after we saw all the baseball yesterday, all the basketball yesterday, and I'm fired up to talk about today's slate.
See, that's
awesome.
It's amazing,
that is
Jensen.
Awesome. I love it. Greg, Dave and I are definitely participants in the most wins in May market. And the first game we hit with you is a team that we feel really confident in a long shot ticket. They didn't look good yesterday, but the Cincinnati Reds dropping both ends of the doubleheader. Tough test today against Matthew Liberatore is off to a great start. Andrew Abbott gets the start for the Redlegs. Give us your thoughts on this one and where you're leaning this morning.
Absolutely. I'm going to be looking at the Reds after, well, you mentioned it. They forgot how to play baseball yesterday, unfortunately. But I think that this is a great bounce back spot because I just don't trust Matthew Liberatore on the road. He's a young prospect. He's a guy that a lot of people have thought highly about. And I do think that he has got a good future. His swing and miss stuff is up this year, but I just look at his career numbers. A .351 home ERA. At home, he gives up about 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. On the road, a north of 5.8 ERA, giving up closer to 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. So north of 40% jump when he's on the road. That really speaks to me. And for the Cincinnati Reds, I just believe that they've got a little bit more bullpen depth. And because they were completely blown out in game number 2, they didn't have to use up any of their trustworthy guys like a Graham Ashcraft, like a Tony Santillan. These are all guys that are going to be good to go for them. And with Andrew Abbott, his swing and miss stuff is way up this year. 12 strikeouts per 9. Now, he does give up the deep ball a little bit. And as you know, they don't call it Great American Small Park for no reason. But That said, I really like the way that he's been able to come along. Remember, we pitched for Virginia. I believe that he was part of that team that went to the College World Series a few seasons ago, and I do think that for the Reds, good bounce back spot here. I would have been willing to lay north of a minus 135 here. We're getting that about a minus 120-ish. That's a good number for me. I'm willing to lay it with the Reds.
Yeah, even down to $1.17 here, Greg. So I like where your head's at there with the Reds. And yes, let's get all those losses out in April. We start anew here in May 1st for the Reds today, so hopefully better than the way they ended last month. The Guardians, I can't figure them out. It feels like a team that you look at and you go, I don't know that I'm overwhelmingly knocked out when I watch them play, but yet it's the Twins in town, and maybe they're just feasting there. Do you think they continue the feast today against Minnesota?
It's a really interesting spot because you mentioned it. With the Cleveland Guardians, it's been a little bit up, down, all around for them. And you've got a guy in Simeon Woods Richardson who I think that if you were to take a picture of a textbook average pitcher, he's got a 4 ERA, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3 walks per 9 innings. Strikeout stuff has been up a little bit this year, but his career numbers are pretty much a league average pitcher. But even though the Cleveland Guardians have been a little bit shaky in the bullpen, Emmanuel Clase's struggles are very much noted going all the way back to the postseason last year. I still do believe that they've got a little bit of better bullpen. And for the Minnesota Twins, this offense has been getting it going a little bit more in this series. That game number 1 outburst was nice, but Carlos Correa's not been himself this year. They're just out getting Brooks Lee back off the injured list. Matt Wallner going down. He's one of their best guys in terms of moving the line. That's big for them. And I really like what I've seen out of Stephen Kwan at the leadoff spot. He has been tremendous for the Guardians. I felt like he got a little bit too power happy towards back half of the season last year. Now he's hitting for both average and power. And Jose Ramirez hasn't been quite himself over the last few weeks. I think that he's going to bust out of this funk a little bit. Ben Lively, another one of those like average pitchers, 4.40 ERA, fielding dependent right around there. He'll give up a little bit of the deep ball, but out there in Cleveland this time of year, a little bit colder. That'll be able to help him out a little bit. I do like the Guardians on the short number right around about minus 108, minus 110 on the money line.
Yeah, Greg, they've really relied on the man they call Luigi, Kyle Manzardo, with the mustache up here to really help for Jose Ramirez still yet to get going. Speaking of a guy that usually gets going in May, Kyle Schwarber with the Phillies. If you want to play the home run markets, that's usually his month to go deep. The Phillies at home, I think overall, Greg, Dave and I talked about a little bit earlier this week. That's probably been the most surprising part is the lack of power here for Philadelphia in the early parts of 2025. Yet, this is a good little spot for them against the Washington Nationals at Citizens Bank Park. What's your handicap for this game and this matchup?
And I'm going to be looking at the run line of plus money here on the Philadelphia Phillies. You're able to get that pretty much at a plus 115 across the board. And if you want to shorten up the game a little bit more as well and look at a live spot, I would say that would be a pretty good look as well. I personally played the full game run line on this one, but here's why I advise people, if you want to perhaps look at something live. The Washington Nationals bullpen ERA this year, 7.41.
Ooh.
They literally have 2 guys that are currently in the bullpen that have an ERA that is below a 5.6. I mean, these guys have all been gas cans this year. Now, Taijuan Walker's doing for regression. He's about a 280, but his fielding independence closer to a 4. He doesn't get a lot of swings and misses. I feel like he's been a little bit lucky this year, but Brad Lord was one of those guys in the bullpen to start the year for the Washington Nationals. He's not fully stretched out. That means you're going to get more of this Washington Nationals bullpen against a Philadelphia Phillies team that you just mentioned it. I think that they're going to bust out with the power. They only had like 22 home runs through their first 28 games of the season. You know that guys like Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper aren't going to stay down there. Schwarber certainly has done his part, but in fact, other guys like Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott that have had a tough time with power. A lot of these guys still move the line, but they just haven't been able to hit the deep ball against a guy like a Brad Lord who gives up north of 4.5 walks per 9 innings. That means lots of the Nationals bullpen. That means that with seeing this total pretty much at a 9.5 across the board, I'm going to take Sean on the over. I do like the Phillies on the run line in a high-scoring game.
One thing you have to do is beat up on the bad, and we're seeing that a lot in Major League Baseball here. When you get Colorado, that's why that Braves loss yesterday with Chris Sale, they all count the same. You go, man, you hate to lose those in Colorado. That did not happen to the Brew Crew yesterday against the White Sox. It got a little bit dicey there late, but they pulled that win out yesterday. You think the Brewers do the same thing again today on the south side of Chicago?
I do think so. With this Milwaukee Brewers team, they just have a better offense flat out than the Chicago White Sox. White Sox averaging about 3.5 runs per game at home. That is by far dead last in the big leagues. And Chad Patrick, for those that don't know about this guy, he's got a sub-2 ERA as a starter. Now, his ERA overall for the season is a little bit north of that because they put him in a random spot against the New York Yankees where they were giving up 1 trillion runs at that first series of the season. So he was a fish out of water there, but he was, I believe it was 14-1 with the Nashville Sounds last season. Guy's not necessarily going to give you a whole bunch of strikeouts, but he'll get like 7.5, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Pretty solid with yards command. Does a nice job there. And Sean Burke had one really nice start to begin the season for the Chicago White Sox. Ever since then, 3+ runs allowed in every one of these starts, with a White Sox bullpen that is pretty awful, to say the least, an offense that can't get it going, to say the least. Like Luis Robert, I just have a belief in terms of some of these bad teams that when you're a good player on a bad team like Luis Robert is, that stink just sort of seeps into you. And as a result, Luis Robert now stinks as well because he has not been himself over the last 2 years. I think that that's very much happening there. And I do think that the Brewers able to take it to the White Sox once again. Even without their A game yesterday, the Brewers were able to cover the run line. Right now, you're seeing that about -105 or so. I'm going to delay that run line, and I'm going to dive in on that under as well because I believe that Chad Patrick going to hold down the White Sox.
I think it's a great handicap, Greg. And two teams that both Dave and I were very high on in the American League this year, the Seattle Mariners and your American League leading Detroit Tigers. Unbelievable start here for A.J. Hinch's group. They head out west to take on an Angels team that has lost 5 in a row. They'll run out Casey Mize against the ace for the Angels, Yusei Kikuchi, tonight. Hey, you just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Just keep riding the Motor City Kitties the way they've been playing right now.
Absolutely. And Casey Mize, this is your number 2 off for major surgery for him. And that's where you want to target these guys. Like we're seeing these guys, your number 1 off of surgery, like Sandy Alcantara, good example. He's not the same Sandy Alcantara that we've seen in the past. When he's out there in 2026, that's a guy that you want to target. This year coming into the season, I was thinking that Casey Mize was going to be able to put together a nice season. So far, he's been able to do so. Now, it's not like he's striking out a billion guys or anything like that, but it's very effective, does a nice job of keeping the ball in the yard, and that's going to be the key against the LA Angels because they have been all or nothing this year. You've got so many guys that have hit for 5+ home runs, but Mike Trout's hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. I recognize the batting average isn't an end-all be-all, but even his on-base percentage is way down this season. These guys are all swinging for the fences and for the LA Angels. Additionally, this is a bullpen that has been suspect, to say the least. And when you got a guy in Yusei Kikuchi, who this year has been way down with his command, north of 5 walks per 9 innings, that means more exposure for an LA Angels team that we saw that bullpen completely gaff away that game yesterday against the Seattle Mariners, north of a 5 ERA. That is the worst out there in the American League. And for the Detroit Tigers, they're the exact opposite. Since the All-Star break last year, top 3 team in terms of their bullpen ERA. I like the way that Casey Mize is rolling. So with the Detroit Tigers, getting them at a relatively reasonable -120, -125 number, we'll delay that.
All right, 30 seconds, Greg. Can the Rockies make it 2 in a row? Come on,
yes.
Big win against Atlanta yesterday. Can they make it 2 in a row against the Gigantes today?
You can bet on that. I'm not going to because the Rockies are currently on pace for 27 wins right now this season. It's just really rough. And Justin Verlander's been a little bit better than his ERA would indicate. And I want absolutely no part of a Rockies team averaging 2.1 runs per game on the road this season. I'm taking the Giants on the run line at a modest number.
I don't blame you at all, Greg. Greg, you're the best. Try to get some sleep, but I mean, for you just keep running, man. Just keep on going, man. We'll catch up again soon. Talk some more baseball.
Absolutely. We've got runs to get in, and we've got beers to review, my friend. It's 5 a.m. somewhere.
I love it. Give him a follow on X, _81. By the way, check it out. If you haven't gone to VSiN.com to wake up this morning, Greg's already got his best bets up there for you. When you go to VSiN.com, we got the Derby preview. It's all there for you. $9.99. By the way, 14 months of VSiN Pro, just $199 when you use the promo code PRO.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We continue VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. A lot of fun having Greg Peterson on the last segment talking Major League Baseball. And again, your Whiff Wednesday. Hopefully people are watching, listening, and I know they are. We could do the Daily Diamond every day, right? We've been doing that for months. Whiff Wednesday, Jensen, you were all over it with a lot of those leans that you had out there for the people. I mentioned to Greg that when you lose to the Rockies, as the Braves did, it kind of feels like losing 2-1. It feels like the Reds losing a doubleheader, right? If you're the Braves. Yeah. But you were all over Chris Sale. First time ever pitching in Colorado. He pitched darn well and hit all your overs for Sale.
Yeah, over on the outs recorded, got 7 innings, so to 21 outs there. Breezes by that, 10 strikeouts, so over the strikeout prop as well. And yes, Colorado wins a game against the Braves, and as you heard Greg say, now on pace for 27 wins.
Unreal.
They and the Chicago White Sox have yet to win back-to-back games this year, and the calendar just hit May 1st. Just saying.
And again, that's why Greg's going to be on the Giants today against the Rockies as the Rockies go on the road. But again, if you told me that on Whiff Wednesday that we're going to nail those sale over outs recorded and the over strikeouts, you're going to say, well, what's the win probability of the Braves against the Rockies? You would think, what, 90%? You're going to win 9 out of 10 if you get that start from Chris Sale against the Rockies, but yet 2-1 the other way as the Rockies do get that win. So that's where the prop market comes in and that cashes. But boy, if you're laying 205, which is what it was in the run line, Jensen, like it's made me steer clear of it. And I get it. We're going to get there with the White Sox and with the Rockies. Forget about $1.15s, $1.30s. You're going to be paying north close to $2 to play run lines against them. Like, I guess over the long haul, Jensen, that could still be advantageous. But I guess yesterday could be one of those buyer beware situations.
I think we talked with Berkey yesterday. I think you're going to start seeing prices if they continue to go south. You're thinking for the big teams when they're on the road, like a Dodger game, you may see their run line go to 2.5. Rarely seen where the run line bumps up a whole run there, but you may be seeing those start to surface if this 5-25 start turns into 10-40, 10-45. I mean, who knows where the bottom is for this group?
I know Gil Alexander, numbers game comes up after us here on the network. He's going to be on the Padres to begin the month of May. They closed it out yesterday with a nice win against the Giants, and Michael King was the guy you had targeted yesterday. He gets it home as well.
Yeah, really nice job by Michael King, continuing what has been just a really dominant start to his home slate. Ends his streak of home consecutive scoreless innings, but only surrenders the 1 earned run. So if you did play Arlene yesterday on Daily Diamond under earned runs allowed, that is a rocking chair winner. The one that I thought that was really intriguing, Dave, was kind of a teaming of not only Whiff Wednesday, but our Daily Diamond, where we felt that Athletics and Rangers game may be a bit closer. So we sided with the Athletics plus 1.5. That gets home easily. But we also thought Nathan Eovaldi could still pack the box score a little bit. He gets there on the over strikeouts. The only Whiff Wednesday lean we didn't hit was Nathan Eovaldi to record a win because the Athletics go win running away 7-1. But outside of that, Pablo Lopez over on the outs recorded against the Guardians. I'll tell you what, I'm with you. My hometown team here just continues to be smoke and mirrors with the lineup they roll out there every day. The pitching has been just so-so, but here they are. And if you look at just where the standings are, Guardians just a game and a half back of the Tigers for the top spot in the American League.
And what do you make of that, Jensen? Because, again, it normally says, well, I want to start fading the Guardians at some point when we kind of look inside the numbers and they don't match exactly what the results are. But there is something to that, and you know it, where teams figure out ways to win. And it feels like that's where the Guardians now reside. Can they really keep this up, or do you think at some point, we're going to get kind of where we really think this team should be?
I think you look at the stretch coming up, right, and they'll finish their series against Minnesota today before they head north of the border to take on Toronto. That's kind of been an inconsistent place for them. Then they'll go to the nation's capital for 3, come home against a really good Philadelphia team and a Milwaukee Brewer team, and then play our Redlegs, if you will, before. That's one of their longest road trips of the year. And by long, I just mean by days, not by distance. They'll go to Cincinnati, hop up to Minnesota, jump over to Detroit, and come back home. So still a pretty, easy road trip from a distance traveled standpoint. End of the month, though, is very tough. They'll have the Dodgers at home, and then we'll see kind of where the Angels are before they head to the Boogie Down to play the Yankees to begin June.
And that's what we hope when they come to Cincinnati. It doesn't go well there for the Guardians for that series. Let's get back to the NBA here a little bit. We talked about, obviously, the big story today is the Lakers have been eliminated. We saw that Golden State has been extended now against Houston last night. That's going to go back to the Bay, 3-2 right there for the 7 seed over the 2 seed. But we do have some other action tonight. It's the Knicks against the Pistons. And I think if there's maybe some concern now is, okay, we talked about Golden State resting their guys. You can't rest your guys if you're the Knicks. They haven't been resting their guys. And yet you can make the argument, even though they're up 3-2, that Detroit has actually been the better team in the series so far. The wins just don't justify it here when you look inside the numbers. Pistons now point-and-a-half favorite in this one to extend this to 7 and get back to New York City in Madison Square Garden. Total 212.5. And they've been going under here a lot recently in this series as well. They've been pretty nip-tuck, and sometimes that's how you get those possessions in the fourth quarter. You really value those. You're not taking a lot of fouls in close games down the stretch. Again, closeout scenario again for Detroit here. What do we make of this one tonight? Because I'm starting to worry a little bit, if you're a Knicks backer, that if this thing gets back to 7, again, we talk about house money. Minnesota played with it last night. Detroit, they want to win this one and really put the pressure on the Knicks back in New York City.
Well, speaking of nip tuck, if Cade Cunningham channels his inner Dr. Christian Troy, then he can absolutely be surgical with this win tonight. I locked in Pistons -2 yesterday. It's down to 1.5, as you talked about. Still very encouraged by where the bets and the handle are at this point. Dave, 38% of the bets here on the Pistons, but 78% of the handle. So follow the money as we like to do. I mean, it's pretty convincing to me. I realize the spread coming down a little bit with perhaps some public money trying to get in there on the Knicks, but I'm with you. I think it's more pressure on the Knicks to try and get it done here, because all bets are off when you get to a potential Game 7. And I think that's where, if the Pistons feel any encouragement whatsoever, get out quickly here, kind of force Tom Thibodeau into a decision of how long do I leave my starters in? How far do I have to push them in the second half? If this game is tight, which by the numbers, it looks like it could be, that again is a spot where you wonder, is it similar to what the Warriors and the Rockets were last night, where, Houston gets out and shoots the lights out in the first half and it doesn't matter? Ideal situation if you're Detroit to try and make that happen here again tonight.
And that's going to be the fascinating point. Tibbs doesn't seem to have that Steve Kerr wave the white flag mentality. And again, I get it why Kerr did it last night early in that second half and never went back to his guys. I don't know, and I'm sure Knicks fans, because we've seen it in the past, going, Tibbs, get these guys out of there. Like, you can't win this game now, and he doesn't. He normally plays those guys. Boy, if they go full bore, which you fully expect them to do, and they can't win, and they have to go back to New York for a Game 7, it'd be interesting to see what those legs look like against the young kids from Detroit. Could have a closeout situation tonight in L.A., and it's the Clippers going to try to stave off elimination against the Nuggets. And I think it might be surprising to some that the Nuggets are still here up 3-2. And again, you normally don't see, you even saw the T-Wolves getting 6 last night, right? You're getting a full 7 on the Nuggets against the Clippers. So even, at least in the betting market, not expecting Denver, and Murray was fantastic in Game 5. What do we make of Game 6? Because I kind of look at Denver kind of like I did Minnesota. I'd be a little bit leery here of laying that big number here with the Clippers.
Yeah, already down to 6.5 at DraftKings now, the Nuggets are. So, again, you kind of see where some of the splits are. 60% of the handle on the Nuggets at that spread price. Total right now at 211.5. And, again, where we've seen kind of differentials that have worked, if you just want to go by the data, 27% of the bets, 52% of the money on the under 211.5. Yesterday, we thought we'd have another defensive battle between the Warriors and the Rockets. No, sir. It was way over. So probably staying away from everything in this game, just going to be a fan. Personally, Dave, I know the Thunder would love for nothing more than this to go 7. But is there, that sense of urgency for Denver, even knowing that you would have a Game 7 in your own arena? Do not let the Clippers have any sign of life here. And if Jamal Murray gets anywhere close to what he did in Game 5, boy, oh boy, that's going to be tough for this Clipper offense to overcome.
I am kind of fascinated that it still feels like the betting market, not to say they're not giving them a chance. Of course, you're still giving them a chance when you have the best player in the world, arguably in Jokic, on the floor. But it does feel like, again, when you just look at the numbers, OKC, then it's Minnesota, then it's Golden State, and then it's Denver, still as the fourth. And yet they're up 3-2. So, again, just to show you that there's not a huge difference, it's 15-1 for the Nuggets to come out of the West. It's 15-1 for Denver. It's 16-1 for the Clippers.
Jeez.
It is amazing the lack of respect, at least in the betting market, that you're seeing right there for Denver. I'll be stunned if all of a sudden this is a wave the white flag situation tonight for Denver. I don't see that coming as well. Edge Boost, it's the first ever bank account built just for bettors. It ensures all your gambling transactions are always approved. No usage fees, no minimums. Earn cash back rewards. 100% approval for all your betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code BOOK, the title of this show. Deposit $25. Edge Boost is going to match that deposit. That's edgeboost.bet.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here with you. And I guess, Jensen, in our Cleveland sports update of the day, not a shock that Shedeur Sanders right now is outpacing the other rookies so far in jersey sales. But, I mean, look, he's been the buzz of the post-draft, obviously, maybe for all the wrong reasons here, for dropping down in the 5th round. But what's the city like here a week later? Like, do you get the sense if they're buying the jerseys, Jensen, they want to see the kid play?
Here's the bottom line. He draws attention, whether good or bad, however you interpret it. There's going to be people that want to come watch and have the intrigue. It was similar to when Johnny Football was here.
Right.
That just you can't take your eyes off it. You want to see, okay, what happens here? And training camp is going to be Azu and Berea. I am thrilled I don't have to cover it. By and large, though, with the news of the Commander Stadium and where that's at with the dome and Goodell saying, oh, yeah, it exponentially increases the likelihood of getting a Super Bowl. It sounds like the governor here, Mike DeWine, very motivated, I'm sure, along with the Haslams to be able to get this Brook Park Dome thing done, not just for a Super Bowl potential, Final Fours. We talked about it as well. There's just so many different economic impacts that happen when you have the roof over the building and you can use it outside of the 20 dates that you'll have football.
It's still fascinating to me. Again, he's the third betting choice to be the starter, at least take the first snap to begin the season. You and I don't think see that happening barring an injury to Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. But if you go to DraftKings and you go to the Browns team specials, again, will Shedeur throw for 300 more yards in any game? It's minus $1.40. Will Myles Garrett have 15 or more sacks? It's plus $1.50. It's all these props, and it's pretty much Garrett and Shedeur. Will Shedeur throw for 2,000 or more yards in the regular season? You can get plus $3 there. Will the Browns go undefeated? What world are we living in? Why would you even... Just saying. I get it. You want to be excited about your team, Cleveland. But it is wild. You can't get a Joe Flacco prop. I can't get you a Kenny Pickett prop. But Jensen, if you want Shedeur Sanders props, baby, we got you covered.
I can get you most regular season passing yards for the New York Giants. If you want to talk about just soap opera quarterback rooms, how about Jackson Dart is 4-1 for the most regular season passing yards for the Giants. Russell Wilson minus $1.50, Jameis plus 250, and if you like Tommy DeVito, 100-1. Just saying.
Hey, boy, New York, Cleveland. Let's get those rookie quarterbacks. Let's play. Kids got to play. That's what they're going to tell you. You're going to hear a lot of that. Let's get back to the NHL. Last night, Capitals got it done. They cover the puck line as well, get the win 4-1 against Les Habitants. And they eliminate our neighbors to the north, Montreal. I know it's a sad day up there. Canada, one of their teams gets knocked out here as you move on to the Stanley Cup Finals. So not a surprise there. It kind of felt like finally that was the Caps. Really two nervy games up there in Montreal. They got those done and then get this one done in 5. Capitals, I know you got a ticket on them, I do believe, Jensen, here. You got to feel pretty good about this first round showing against Canadiens.
Yeah, no doubt Ovechkin gets another playoff goal. And again, this one really never in doubt, right? I think the Caps understood the assignment. They come through with it. And now both teams, Capitals and Hurricanes, will be well rested and on even rest, if you will, to begin their second round series. We have continued to mention it. The Hurricanes feel like that team that is not getting a lot of publicity, at least in the Eastern Conference, if not overall. And so I may wait and hope that the Caps win game 1 and may potentially jump in on the Hurricanes there, knowing my 35-1 future on Washington is alive and well. So going to workshop that and see what the best path forward is.
Right now, Panthers and Hurricanes co-favorites now that those teams have gone on. We'll talk about the Panthers here in a sec. 2-1. Capitals, though, plus 425. You can double up. Even though the Caps have moved on in round 2, plus 425, Hurricanes and Panthers, the short shots there at plus $2. Mention the Panthers. They get it done. Battle of Florida is over. Tampa Bay has been eliminated in 5 games. Bit of a surprise there. That kind of non-competitive a little bit last night. Panthers easy win 6-3 to get this done. Over cashes easily as well. That was done and put to bed before you got out of the second period. The autopsy on Tampa, is this more about maybe Florida is still the Florida Panthers that we all saw last year?
Yeah, and maybe it's an underestimation of Florida. And I mean, it's convincing, man. 4-1, almost like Tampa out with a whimper. And on home ice, watched the first couple periods of that game. Just Andre Vasilevsky, one of the weird case studies, and I would have said put Connor Hellebuck in there had Winnipeg not been able to get a 3-2 series lead, and still not out of the woods yet there for the Jets. But I think this is more indicative of heart of a champion here, where the Panthers had the injury issues, Ekblad, the suspension, and then, just being able to dig deep and the physicality. I mean, you talk about teams that don't like each other.
Right.
Man alive. Physicality in this series was pretty remarkable, even only for 5 games. But Florida, again, they're going to be a handful for either Toronto or Ottawa in that second round.
Yeah, we're going to get to that game as well because big numbers changed there with the Maple Leafs now still. The fourth betting choice to come out of the East, Ottawa, the long shot right now, 35-1 to come out of the East. In the West, you mentioned it with Winnipeg. They do get it done last night against St. Louis, so they take a 3-2 lead. And this is one of those cases now where home teams are holding serve here, right? Unlike a lot of these other series, man, home ice has meant everything here. So Winnipeg is now plus 475 with their win last night over St. Louis. St. Louis is now 25-1 to come out of the West after they fall 5-3 in Winnipeg. St. Louis got to feel like, okay, if everybody's holding serve, we can do that too at 6, and then all the pressure theoretically would go back to Winnipeg if it forces a Game 7.
I think that's probably the thing you think about more so here coming up tomorrow is that, can Jordan Binnington pull off yet another, Four Nations performance, if you will, and be able to will that club into a winner take all. More importantly, though, Connor Hellebuck being able to win a game he's supposed to win, right? You're supposed to win those games at home. So they, as you said, hold serve. I'm anxious too. We talked about the surprise and maybe the team that no one is talking about in the Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference. If the Jets find their way through, they may be that team too, Dave, that, Stars Avalanche, 2 heavily favored teams even going into the postseason. The Knights, if the Oilers end up finishing off that series against the Kings tonight, the Jets may be that team that fall under the radar. And that's saying something considering how well their season has been.
I mean, we're always going to talk about, for Canada, we're always going to talk about Toronto first. We get that. Even Edmonton in the finals last year coming up short. We're going to talk about them with Connor McDavid. It does feel like Winnipeg is kind of that quiet neighbor to the north that nobody really is talking about there with some of those other high-profile teams now that Montreal has been knocked out. Speaking of Toronto, they're going to Ottawa tonight to take on the Sens. Sens are small favorites. My anxiety level just goes up talking about Toronto hockey. So if we feel it here stateside, they're feeling it there north of the border. Ottawa small favorites, $1.17. You want to take them on the puck line. You're going to get plus 220 to blow out Toronto like they did in Game 5. Jensen, are we going back to Toronto for a Game 7?
Again, I don't have a dog in this fight. But the fan in me and the chaos that I want to have ensue. Toronto now 1-13 in their last 14 elimination games.
That's amazing.
If you just want to go by the numbers, David, and here's what I find fascinating. Like, okay, you got 80% of the money on Toronto at minus $1.02 at DraftKings, 61% of the bets. I mean, you're not going to deter the public. No. That's for sure. Yes, selfishly. Give me a Game 7, man. I want to see the squeaky bum time fans for Toronto. They're going to be like Yankee fans going up against the Red Sox in the Bronx when the Red Sox were down 0-3 and trying to make the historic comeback.
I think when you and I talk 24 hours from now, I think we'll be more surprised if the series is over.
Yeah.
Versus if it's going back to. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know, right? Yeah. Even though it's a tight money line price. I think we'd be more surprised if the series is over versus a Game 7 back in Toronto.
Totally agree.
I think we might be surprised if Minnesota wins tonight and send this back here to Las Vegas for a potential Game 7 with Minnesota against Golden Knights. Danny's back here helping to produce the show. He's decked out in all of his VGK gear. I think maybe the city tonight thinks that Las Vegas is going to get it done. You feel good about them tonight on the road against Minnesota? Or do you think the Wild are going to push this again? Big favorites on the road at minus $1.64 for Vegas.
My future tickets really are hoping that VGK gets it done. And selfishly, I believe that we know they're the better team. Now can they put that full road performance together? We've seen it a time or two early in the series. Let's see if it happens again here tonight.
2 more games, Stars and Avs. Again, the Dallas Stars can eliminate Colorado in Colorado tonight. And then Edmonton trying to make it 4 in a row against the Kings north of the border. That would be a story in and of itself. The Derby is Saturday. We've got the Derby guide. It's out now. You can get it with a VSiN Pro subscription. It's just $9.99 for the first 30 days of VSiN Pro. Again, you're going to get that Derby guide to help you make better bets before you place those wagers on the ponies come Saturday. So sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe.